is perfect running weather here on this Friday morning. I'm Lyndon Blake, joined by Sean Allen, former runner at University of Alabama, Huntsville. He's a Charger. You're in your neck of the woods this morning.
Yeah, this is my backyard. I literally live 10 minutes from here. Perfect weather, perfect course conditions out here this morning, Lyndon, for some championship racing.
It is championship season, so this is where it all happens. This is where cross-country teams will determine their fate to compete for a national championship. I mentioned we're at John Hunt Park, this beautiful course. Less than 6 years old. Sean, what sticks out to you?
Yeah, let's talk about this course. The first mile, pretty much net downhill, very fast first mile for these ladies today. The challenging part of the course comes in the last mile or so. You've got a significant hill there, and then it's all downhill from about a K out. So should be great morning for it.
But that's the saying in cross country that means something good. It's all downhill from here is a positive thing for these runners.
It definitely is. So they want to just kind of measure their effort level early, get into a good position for their team, and then let it rip on the back half.
2024 champion was Alabama. The team swept on both the men and women's side. The Florida ladies just got it done at SEC championships a couple of weeks ago in Knoxville. They are looking to hold the bar and make it to nationals in Missouri. Here's a look at some of the runners as we're getting ready to start this thing in just a few minutes. Sean, how do you expect this women's 6K to go?
Yeah, I really think I expect Doris, along with Doris Lemngole of Alabama, and then Judy Chepkoech of Florida, the sophomore, having a sensational season. I really expect those two ladies to kind of be up front early, kind of control the pace, and lead from the front there.
Doris is a familiar face for Alabama. Judy transferred into Florida from Arizona State, so she is a new face on the Gators squad, but man, is she someone that has really contributed.
Yeah, she was the SEC runner-up just a little over a week ago. She's got a season's best of 1922, but she is going to have her hands full with Doris. She's the defending NCAA champ. She's also the NCAA record holder in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, so she'll definitely have her hands full there with Doris.
You can see the run is off, and this is such an open course. It's great for spectators. If you're watching at home, you're going to see this shot a lot where you take you to the front of the pack and see who's out there, and also we'll just give you some overview shots of the course. But this is so important, again, because conference championships, we have so many SEC teams in this South region. It means so much because it's so competitive, but this is a region where, you have to make sure you get it done here as well, and that's why there's so much pressure. You don't want to go full out and waste all your energy because you have to turn around and run next Saturday at Nationals. But again, you have to keep the foot on the gas a little bit to make sure your team does get out.
Yeah, you definitely do. You want to be in a good position early in the race. They just passed through the kilometer mark there. That looks like Maddie Wheatcroft of Chattanooga leading the way early in this women's race. She's got about a 15-meter lead on the pack there that are all just kind of staying controlled and comfortable there as they're going to be fast approaching the mile mark here this morning at John Hunt. As you can see, 10 meters wide is the most narrow section of the course, so easy to move up and pass throughout the course today.
We have a look at some of that from the first split, some results there. Riley Blade, Florida State, she's a freshman in first, followed by BK Stripperin from Florida State, the junior there. And then here's someone that we haven't mentioned yet, but someone to watch for sure, the Tennessee freshman, Mary Ogwaka. She has made an impact so far for the Volunteers. That's how the top three after the 1K split wrap out, followed by Doris and Cynthia from Alabama. They're doing a good job there by keeping the tide up front.
Yeah, they sure are. And just looking at the team standings through the kilometer, also very early, obviously, but we've got Florida leading the way right now with 108 points, through that kilometer mark, closely followed by Alabama. And then another tough team up from Tennessee that always shows out really well at the region championships is Lipscomb. They've got a tight-knit group there. They always run really well, hoping for an at-large berth if they're not in that top two.
Yeah, you mentioned this is your backyard. Lipscomb's in my backyard in Nashville, Tennessee, and Nick there, the coach, he does such a good job. They brought in some new pieces this year, and they, like you said, they are one of the teams, one of the mid-major teams that are always in the hunt in this region, the regional rankings, and nationally. Nationally, I mean, they're always around that top 10 mark, which is super incredible, especially in this day and age when so many things play a factor in college athletics.
Yeah, they really are doing a great job there up in Nashville. And you can see here from this drone shot, Riley Blade is really taking it out pretty hard here with about a 20, 30-meter lead over the pack. And then you can see a whole slew of about 30 runners there kind of in that chase pack, and then another little separation back to the rest of the field.
So if you find yourself joining us and you are not familiar with cross country as a sport, I'm going to let Sean do the analytics, but it is a team sport. We were talking about individuals throughout the race, but your team has to do well to win the race. Top 5 from each team are the ones that get scored. So you want your runners to, you're really only as good as your weakest link, your last score. So that's why it's such a fun sport for these athletes, and really it just gives this sport that team feeling, which sometimes can be very individualized on the track side of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Lynn. And you know, cross country, the beautiful thing about it is everybody's playing the same position. They're all running the same race, and they're all doing it for each other. So it doesn't matter if you're the first runner or the fifth runner. You've got your job to do. You want to have a nice low spread, meaning minimum time between your first runner crossing the finish line and your fifth runner. And if you have a good day, then your team will score well.
The top 2 teams make it out automatically to nationals, but there's individual spots that can get at-large bids as well if their team doesn't make it. Just going over some of the regional rankings for the South region, Florida comes into this race number 1, Alabama number 2, Tennessee is 3rd, 4th Florida State. So Riley Blade, her team, came into this race 4th, and she is just really pumping it, creating a lot of distance here early on. Mississippi State 5, Vanderbilt 6, Ole Miss 7th, Lipscomb, who we just mentioned, comes in at number 8, Georgia 9th, and Georgia Tech wraps out the top 10 on the women's side.
Yeah, right now, early in this race through the 2-kilometer mark, we do have Florida still there in the lead, and we've got some changes here so far early in this race. Alabama there in 2nd. Vandy just up the road in Nashville looking well in 3rd right now as they are rolling along quite well. That is still Riley Blade up front. She's got about 7 seconds on the pack there. It's being led by Doris from Alabama.
Doris, national champion. She is someone that has really made a name for herself in Tuscaloosa. I was down at the Alabama-Vanderbilt football game, and Doris and the entire cross-country team, they got a huge shout-out there on the Jumbotron, and they got honored on the field. And as someone who is obviously a fan of cross-country like yourself, it's always good to see them get the spotlight, especially on a big stage like football. When game day was there, it was pretty special.
Yeah, I really feel like our sport's really getting a lot of momentum and a lot of exposure over the last few years, and I think it's great for the sport, great for the athletes, obviously, and just having, you know, the class act people that we have in the sport that are involved, from the coaches all the way down to the athletes. It just really highlights the type of character that these young men and women have.
For some of these athletes, this is their first time ever on this course. It's hosted regionals in the past, and the girls that have ran this course, they love it. They love it because it is flat. There is that steady climb, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, of where you could be running in the country right now, I don't think you get better than this.
Yeah, as far as the course, it's one of the best courses in the country. I've seen several have been some of the best courses in the country, excuse me. And this one's just right on par with the rest of the courses. And then obviously we've got excellent weather. I believe it's 53 degrees right now. Absolutely perfect conditions, very light wind. We do see some lead changes now, as we've got Doris Lemngole of Alabama now overtaking the lead from Riley Blade, as they come through the starting area here on their smaller loop to start. It is kind of a 2-loop course, so they start off with a smaller 2K loop, and then they're going to complete a 4K loop here this morning in this women's 6K race.
And this is where they can just bust it wide open. You see Blade there for Florida State falling back into 3rd, and that's a risk you take going out as hot as she did.
Yeah, she really did take it out to the front early and hard. She has had some excellent performances under her belt this year. As a true freshman, she's running really strong. She's just going to want to try to maintain position now as well as possible throughout the remainder of the course. But you really start to see Doris, who's such a seasoned veteran, especially in cross country. She's got lots of experience, and she's obviously one of the top runners in the country. So she's really going to start to pour it on now and leave no question.
I mentioned that Alabama as a team swept last season at regionals on both the men and women's side. Doris is the defending regional champion as well last year. She was the first to cross that finish line, and you hear cheers coming as they're running behind us now. And a lot of the fans get to see this part of the race and really just cheer for their team and cheer for the individuals and really pump them up. I know it has to feel good as a runner when you get to run in front of the fans.
It really does, and this course really highlights the spectator friendliness of the course. The athletes and participants can have lots of fans cheering them on. Coaches easily can access them throughout multiple points of the course, which really helps the runners kind of know where they're at in the race, know their effort level, and make good decisions throughout the course of the race.
Mark Russell with the Huntsville Sports Commission mentioned earlier, he goes, last time you were here talking about myself when I was here as a fan, he was like, you had a baby and you were running everywhere. And I was like, yes, my friends, the Palmers at the time, they're at Alabama, now they're at Florida. Their firstborn, Liam, he was out here, and I had that stroller, and we were getting after it. We were running everywhere trying to cheer them on.
Yeah, and Will Palmer, what a great story. You know, he was the assistant coach at Alabama, was coaching the women's team when they were having success a few years ago. Obviously, Alabama's still having great success on the women's side and men's side, but now he's taken his talents on to Florida. He's the head distance coach there at the University of Florida and doing great things there on the women's side and men's side for that matter.
Just an excellent coach, excellent recruiter. He's just able to really put a team together. And one thing I can say about Florida is they have one of the best cultures, family atmospheres that I've seen. His wife, Sam, heavily involved still, just their kids are around. It's just something that is so fun to watch, and you can tell it on the course. There's a direct correlation in any sport when you have that family atmosphere, when your teammates love each other, you fight for each other, and that's what you see in Florida. And I mean, at SEC's a couple weeks ago, I think their final score was 45. I mean, it was just an incredible race that the Gators won to get the championship there for their conference.
Yeah, and as the fans may know, the SEC's is obviously one of the most competitive conferences in the country. So for them to win in such a dominating fashion at the Southeastern Conference really shows just the coaching, and then all the way down through the runners, the just team chemistry and atmosphere that Will's building there. So through the 4K, you have Doris there of Alabama still leading the way. She's got about a 5-second lead over her freshman teammate Karen Kiplagat of Alabama. And then back in third, Florida, Judy Chepkoech. She's moved up through the field now, about 8 places from her last split now, running really well. She's about 15 seconds back on Doris.
So you're looking at what we're saying, the top 2 teams here, Florida, Alabama on the women's side. You're seeing individually how that's coming to be. Florida, Alabama, they're taking all of the top 5 spots right now, followed by Tennessee's Mary Ogwoka, who we mentioned is a freshman there. She's keeping the Volunteers in the mix, followed by Florida State there. Riley Blade, who led for much of the first part through the 1K mark, is down to 8th right now.
And also on the line on the individual side, the top 4 individuals not on a team that qualifies for nationals, they will get an individual berth to nationals as well. But the selection committee is really going to look at how all these teams perform today, and there's going to be some judgment calls from at-large berths. So, you know, it's really important, even if you're not in that top 2, to have a great day. It's not enough to just finish third, but really show that you're a competitive third team, so you can hopefully get bumped up for an at-large berth.
Yeah, that's a good point that you make, and maybe you can expand on that further for those that may not be familiar. But again, you have the teams that get the automatic bids from the 9 regions here in the country, but you know, not all regions are created equal, and so that's what the selection committee has to look at, how they've ran so far and how competitive they will be, because you want the best of the best there on the course at nationals.
That's exactly right. I mean, I would hate to be on that selection committee because they're going to have a lot of tough decisions to make. They're going to be looking at their whole resume, kind of a strength of schedule similar that you may look at in football, and see who they beat head to head, how they performed week in and week out throughout their season. So why it's also important to perform really well at the highest stage here at regionals. So going through those two team standings right now, Lyndon, through 4K, we've got Florida, Alabama, and in third there, Vandy's looking really strong, just 7 points back on Alabama through 4 kilometers. So we're coming up to the kind of the final sections of the course here for these ladies this morning.
And Vanderbilt, Chad Ballio's done a great job, and Lisa Morgan there with the cross-country team at Vanderbilt, just really putting together a good roster. They have newcomers this year, and Tyla Lumley, who transferred in from Drake, and she has just been amazing from Australia, just a wonderful athlete and leader on the Vanderbilt team. Plus they have some younger girls with Claire and Lily there at Vanderbilt, who have done a good job adding to the veterans there on Vanderbilt to keep them in the race. And right now, they're in there.
They are in the hunt for the third spot right now in the region. And individually, Doris is really starting to kind of pour it on the field now. She's got 7 seconds over her teammate Karen Kiplagat. She's running really strong unofficially through 4.9K in 15:43, so just over 5-minute pace for Doris this morning. She's really leaving no question about who the best runner in the region is right now.
Yeah, you think you do a good job with your morning 5K before work, just hitting about around an 8-minute pace, and then you come watch some of these athletes, and it's incredible. I'm sure since you're a runner in college, you're a lifelong runner.
Yeah, so I don't have as much time to run as I would like to run, but I stay involved in the sport as much as possible, coach a high school team, so really love just being a part of the sport as long as I can be. Just something that, you know, going back to the culture that you talked about growing up, you're around so many great athletes and coaches and parents, and it just really, you know, kind of sets you apart and sets you up for success in life. So this is Doris Lemngole now coming down a little bit of a downhill on the course here. She will not be but about 400 meters or so from the finish now, 17:24 on the clock unofficially, and she is moving really well. Karen Kiplagat is the only other runner in sight right now, her teammate, the freshman from Alabama.
So it looks like Doris will be the repeat champ for Alabama, and you can tell the girls are closing in on this 6K race when the fans all flock to the finish line to cheer them on down the stretch.
Yeah, so now she's coming up with just about 250 meters to go. We're going to see a good finish line shoot for Doris here, teammate Karen Kiplagat as well, and then we've got a pretty big gap back to the third runner there. There's 3 or 4 ladies there in the mix there.
Yeah, Tia Wilson from Florida. You mentioned Hilda Judy there, right there, followed by Florida State's Riley.
So Riley's still running strong there, holding on to 7th position after going out really hot there that first mile or so, but she's hanging on tough in 7th place. And then, as you mentioned earlier, Maria Gwoka of Tennessee, the freshman, having a sensational year back in 8th. But this now is Doris Lemngole.
Cheers from the crowd. She crosses the finish line as the winner for this women's 6K. We'll get her time here in a second, but under 19 minutes for Doris, just textbook, and she just makes it look easy.
Sensational time for the two young ladies. Under 19 minutes on this course, under 19 minutes on any course is sensational, but that is a great run for Doris and teammate Karen Kiplagat. 18:43.8 looks like officially for Doris. So now we'll start keeping a close eye on the team results to see how it all shakes up for those auto bursts.
So we have Tia Wilson there in 4th for Florida, 19:15.12. And here they go. So she was the first one across the finish line for the Gators, first 3 being from Alabama.
Yeah, the senior Tia Wilson there having a sensational senior campaign, finishing 4th here today. Had a great run at SECs as well. top 3 for Alabama running really strong. Now we start to see those team points start to kind of come in here. Florida has 3 runners in, as well as Alabama. Florida State has 2 runners in now, so we'll keep a close eye on that as these results continue to populate.
This is where it gets fun. You just have to see where everyone finishes in those top 5. So you have Florida Gulf Coast having someone across the finish line, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Ole Miss.
Really great shot of the finish line here, seeing these ladies pour it all on the line. They're just giving it their all for their teammates, for their coaches, all their fans back home. So you can really just see the level of effort and heart that they put into this as they're battling, as every place matters. I've seen some really close team battles over the years in cross country, and it can come down to just a point or two that separates you from going to nationals or sitting at home.
Yeah, that's why, you know, you have the people that are expected to finish at the top, the automatics, but again, it's those at-large, that these ladies individually, that's where the action is in this region. It is fighting for it. And yeah, I mean, plenty of these runners fall out to the ground afterwards just because your legs get out. You gave it everything you had.
So still working on those team scores right now. Unofficially, we do have Florida has 4 runners in, Alabama has 3 in. Still working on those final tallies there to get you some team scores. Rounding out our top 10 after Tia Wilson and Riley Blade were in 6 and 7. You had Mary Aguaca in 8th and Bieke Schipperin of Florida State there in 9th. And then Nellie Jimley of Mississippi State, the freshman, having a great freshman campaign there for the Bulldogs there, rounding out your top 10.
Again, an incredible job by Alabama and Florida to hold the line, do what they need to do.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit before. You know, for some of these teams, they just kind of knew what they needed to do is just, you know, kind of a business trip, not to downplay the venue or the event, but, you know, they knew if they just came out and did their job, they were going to be safe and be able to finish in that top 1 or 2. And so far, it looks like Florida and Alabama have done just that. Just having a great day on this beautiful morning here in Huntsville, Alabama.
It is just such a good day. Perfect running weather. I love there's fans holding up signs that say run faster. It really is just a fun event to come out and just watch what these ladies can do.
And you can see here from this finish line shot, the terrain here is almost a natural stadium, so as you're away from the finish line barriers there, you kind of have an elevated approach and you can see down onto the finish chute here. So spectator friendly, as we mentioned throughout the course, but finish line chute is just the same here.
Yeah, we got some unofficial team standings in. Florida finishes first. Tennessee, they have all 5 across there. It looks like they're in 2nd.
Yeah, Tennessee is a little bit of a surprise. They were kind of ranked coming in a little bit lower, but they are definitely vying for an auto or an at-large, just depending on how things shake out here. Unofficially right now, Alabama still only has their top 3 in. We'll have to make sure that we've got all the results populated properly. Sometimes there could be a little bit of a timing delay for some of the individuals.
Hey, Doris. Some behind-the-scene action as soon as we get this concluded. We're going to speak with our winner, our champion here at the South Regional. So she's going to get all ready, and I just cannot wait to talk with her.
Is that good?
Yeah.
So here's where we just wait for the results to be finalized for the team. Florida, Tennessee, and the mix. Alabama still hasn't gotten all 5 across. Mississippi State looks to be the 3rd team trying to get that 5th person across, but you just never know. Again, all 5 are scored, and it just depends on when they cross from the finish line. It's all about points and keeping it low. We're gonna take a break really quick, come back with our champion, Doris Lemngole. We'll see you back here at John Hunt Park in Huntsville, Alabama.